First thing I'd like to say is thank you so much for being on board with us here and doing the job that you're doing. And we know that we still need to hire more people. We need more volunteers. And some days we're really stressful in here, as you know, especially when the attendance is approaching 5,000. We know we're going to have a problem. Couple of things. One, I think Dawn sent out an email relative to who needs to take the first aid and CPR courses. I think some of you may have gotten that. There's a schedule of people. If you haven't gotten it, there was a Group 1 and Group 2 and Group 3. Group 1 is woefully behind in taking those courses. They're online courses. We're paying for them. All you have to do is follow the instructions and take the course. I took it. If I can pass it, anybody can. But it is something I think is important when we have the crowds that we're having in here to make sure that we understand what needs to be done when something happens. The second thing I wanted to go over was angry customers. And today I experienced one. Dave did a great job because that's exactly what that guy did. His name was Robert Shaw, and he was from New Jersey. Newark Airport, not LaGuardia. And he came, he was standing outside my office. He said, "I want to see somebody in authority right now." And so Krista was there. She said, "Here he is." Opened the door, and this guy came storming in with his wife, and he said, "This is ridiculous. You guys, where is Winter?" You know, and I said, "Winter's out there in the pools." Well, we waited at 2:30 for a Winter show, and it never happened. And then at 3 o'clock, we asked somebody, and they said, "Yeah, there was a show at 2:30. I can imagine that guy was pretty upset about that. And I said, "Well, you know what? We're here for our animals. And Winter has a tummy ache right now. And we're not telling the whole world that because we'll say she has a tummy ache, and by the time I get home tonight, it'll be Winter's dead."
Yeah.
You know, so we don't broadcast that, but we manage to our animals' desire. We do not force our animals to do anything. And so when she's not feeling up to top speed, we put her, we sequester her a little bit. But you can still see her, she's there. Why isn't the tail on her? Well, just like a human being, you know, the tail is something that if you wear it long enough, it's going to irritate her. And dolphin skin is 6 times more sensitive than human skin. So at the end of the day, this guy came from New Jersey, came down here to see Winter, and he was disappointed. So, and his wife kept going off really bad. So I just said, "Stop. What could make you happy? How about if I refund you your ticket cost?" And the guy said, "Oh, okay." I said, "We don't want you to be unhappy when you come in here. We're about a happy story here. And I'm sorry if you're disappointed, but the best I can do is to give you a refund." And I picked the phone up and I called Don and I said, "Write a check." And then I gave him 2 free tickets and said, "You can come back." I asked him, I said, "Do you come here often?" And he says, "Well, I come down here about once a year." I said, "Well, then your next visit's on me." So he walked out very happy and feeling guilty that his wife had just lambasted me. But that's, if you guys encounter people like that, don't try to deal with them yourself. Just go to your supervisor or find me or David or Krista or one of the managers in here, senior executives, and we will take care of it no matter how abusive they get. And we had a person over at Dolphin Tail Adventure yesterday come in. She thought that Winter was there, and she was absolutely abusive to Catherine. And one of the other staff members told me about it. Catherine actually resigned because of it. And that's not fair. Don't encounter somebody like that. If you have a situation like that, just say, "Can you wait just a moment? I will get somebody that can help you." And that's the way you want to deal with it. I don't want anybody going out of here unhappy, if possible. Some people, I'm seeing today a different customer than we saw 6 months ago. And as it gets hotter in the summer, it's going to get worse. And as it gets more crowded, which it will, we're going to have these situations. A couple of things that are bothering people now is they are very confused when they go over to Dolphin Tail Adventure. And right now it's called Winter's Dolphin Tail Adventure. I'm going to be discussing with David a change in name, because people associate Winter with that name, and they go over there to try to find Winter, and she's not there. And I asked the ticket people today, I said, what percentage of people that come in here think that Winter's here? And I got one person told me, who works at that desk often, 90%. Another person said 95%. So we have a misconception out there. And we can manage that somewhat, I think, with a website, and we've got to do a better job in coordinating messages on the website. I said, how many people walk into this place and think this is CMA? And the answer to that, both of them said 75%. So we have changed the wayfinding signs a little bit. It's going to be expensive to change the name, but I really believe that that's going to be necessary. Yes?
I was just going to say, I think something that would help that out is actually having a sign for CMA over the bridge, because there's no sign. All it says is Winter's Dolphin Tail Adventure this way. It doesn't say that CMA is, go straight, which is why they're all coming to us.
Well, a dirty little secret there. The dirty little secret is we don't have enough parking here. And we're trying to get people to go to Dolphin Tail Adventure first and take the trolley over to here. Now that's posing some other problems. One, because we have different hours here. And somebody that, let's just say they are here, and they came late on a Saturday, and we close at 7 o'clock here. And they go over to Dolphin Tail Adventure, and Dolphin Tail Adventure closes at 6, and the bus, they go up to Tony's to get a pizza. And then they come to try to get the trolley, and the trolley stopped running at 6:30. And their car is stuck back here, so that's a problem. So we've got to deal with that. I think having consistent hours on both places might help that somewhat. And that's just another issue that we've got to work through there. The other thing I want to mention to you is ADA. And we talked about it a little bit earlier today. We are not that ADA friendly right now. And we had a visit from the American Veterans of Disability Association, or American Disability Veterans Association, I can't remember what it is. But they came in here about 3 weeks ago. They were very nice to me. And one of them was in a wheelchair, another one was a consultant, and another one was the executive director of the organization. And they pointed out some things to me that we should have really recognized ourselves and didn't. One thing is, if you're coming into the aquarium, where's the restroom? There was no signs, no nothing. There was only a trailer out there that says restrooms, and there wasn't any ADA sign. But we fixed that. And we've got some signage up now. We've got signage inside that points to the restroom. We've got a sign that tells you where the elevator is. And if you're sitting down in a wheelchair with all these crowds in here, you can't even see where the elevator is. So we're going to put a sign up on the wall, and that's being made right now. Wheelchair. Well, guess what? I got a call from them today. And they were asking me what the progress was on what we're doing. And we're going to designate an ADA area in each one of the exhibits and paint it off, mark it off. The problem is, or the challenge we have is, when we're this crowded, we have some very rude people who won't move out of the way for somebody in a wheelchair. If you in hospitality see somebody in a wheelchair, I would like for you to go up and ask if you can assist them to get there, and then ask other guests to move out of the way for the ADA designated area. We're going to put more signage up and things like that, but I think it's very important. Doggone it, we're blessed to have 2 legs, and we don't realize what it's like to be in a wheelchair. Yes?
Frank, on that point, when I was still working here and not at the DCA, I had an issue similar to that, well, exactly like that, a woman in a wheelchair. and a show had just broken. She had to go to the bathroom. Her person that was with her wasn't around. They were over by the coach tank. She needed to go to the bathroom. Catherine, I believe, was there and helped me with it that day when I said, could you push her and let me go in front to kind of make passage for her, because she couldn't get through past the Stingrays. I mean,
Sure.
even if we had some sort of signage like we use at the gift counter to ask people, go down here, what some sort of sign that somebody could hold up so that people would see they needed to park, so that a handicapped person either on crutches or in a wheelchair could get through. Because when you're just coming through as a body and you're saying, excuse me, could I get through here? They're like, I'm watching the Stingrays. So
Yeah, imagine them
some
being,
sort of to get us through.
imagine them being over in the outer area and having to go to the bathroom and work their way back on a Saturday to the elevator downstairs and then through the main lobby back to the bathroom.
Let me
People
tell you
will
how
not
to
move.
do it.
People don't
You
move.
raise your voice and you say, excuse me, I've got a wheelchair coming through. You just have to do it.
Trust me, you don't know me. You obviously don't know me. I do think it would be easier.
Well, listen, the point is
That's exactly
that
how
we
it
need to be
is.
sensitive to that. We're under construction right now. We're going to have ADA restrooms available when we're done with construction, both in this building and in the new building. So it won't be a major issue then, but right now, we've got to help our friends. We really do.
Some way to get us through.
Frank, what's the status of the lift that goes up to the Nicholas level? Because
I've got a stick of dynamite in my office.
we've had challenges with that, and I only am here on Fridays, and it's down a lot.
It is.
And when it's not down, it's still very difficult for the guests to learn how to work.
Well, we have to grin and bear it at this time because there's no point buying another lift.
Okay,
That whole area is going to be bulldozed,
right,
if you
of
will.
course.
That's going to be a straight-through area, walk-through. We're going to take the trainer's office out, Kelly's office, all the way to the
Right.
classrooms there. And it's going to be a much wider area. We won't have those pinch points that we have right now. But right now, we just have to deal with that stupid lift. We had an experience over at Dolphin Tail Adventure where some parents came in, paid for their 8-year-old kids, 7 and 8, and left them there
What?
with no parental supervision. And one of the people on the desk said, you can't just leave your child there. Oh, yes, I can. I paid for them. And they walked out. And they should have called the police right then, but they didn't. So those kids were in there in the Dolphin Tail Adventure for a couple hours, unattended. And so there are some really dumb people, and you can't fix stupid, but that kind of thing we're not going to tolerate in here. That's for sure. And that we're going to protect children and not let something like that happen again. And the simple thing is, if somebody refuses to escort their children around, we're just going to have to call the police. If they're under 12, we've got to do that. So, ADA, we want to be friendly. And I hope that, you guys, as part of hospitality, you got to be the key for that. But any of us should help anybody with disabilities. The other side of that disability thing is hearing impairment.
Thank you.
And we had a hearing impaired person come in here with a friend, and they paid a visit to my office as well. And there's several things that we can do to mitigate that. One is I want to put on the website that if somebody is hearing impaired, they can notify us in advance, and we will get an interpreter, sign language interpreter, to come in. And they're available. They're about $30 an hour. You usually need 2 of them. One to stand by the person and one to stand by the presenter. And so the presenter starts presenting, and then the person interprets and so forth. But at any rate, that, I want to take the scripts that we use in our presentation and print them out, so that if we have somebody that comes in, we can give them a hard copy of that. There's some other things like subcaptions that we probably should do, but that's expensive. We're not going to get to that immediately, but that's something that I think we likely will have to do at some point as well. As we grow bigger and more successful, we're gonna have eyes on us like that. And quite honestly, they should have an experience just like anybody else, as best we can do for them. So, yes,
Are we gonna get any more wheelchairs and?
I ordered them today, all right?
And
Excuse
will-
me, I authorized Dawn to order them today.
Okay. And will they be out at the beginning of the admission lines? Because people get out of their handicapped vehicle and can't walk the rest of the
Well, I
distance.
think what we'll do is, no, we won't put them out there, because they'll be gone.
Yeah.
And we'd like to
But-
encourage wheelchair people to use their wheelchairs, you know what I
Right.
mean?
But a
So
lot
we don't
of
have to
the-
buy 8,000 of them.
We can't even leave a plastic bench out there without it being stolen, so, you know, we'll have them available, and we'll have more of them that have both feet and so forth.
I've encountered people that really don't need a wheelchair, but they can't walk through the whole facility. And they need seats here and there. And the only places we have chairs is out by the winter zone.
Or they
And-
can't take the stairs.
Well, they really struggle on the stairs, or they can make it, but then they're thoroughly exhausted or they're in pain and they really need to sit, and we have all these very, healthy people sitting in the winter chairs, and we can't get a chair for some of these, more disabled people.
Well, let me tell you about chairs and seating and stuff. Over at Dolphin Tail Adventure, I had 6 benches put out there along the front of Dolphin Tail. They're all stainless steel, they're painted black, but they're out there and they're fastened to the ground. We have plastic benches that we put out in by the Jolly Trolley for people, elderly people to sit down. And they went missing, but we're gonna order, we'll have 8 of them out there, 6 to 8 of them, however many we can get. It's gonna get more difficult as we go into the rainy season. It's gonna get more difficult as we get more crowded than we are. We're limited in how big a tent we can put out there because of city codes and that type of thing, but we are trying to manage that as best we can. And we recognize that there are elderly people coming in here, and they are deserving of a place to sit as well.
Is there any possibility of doing something like where you see where the bus stops are, where people sponsor certain benches and stuff, and having them sponsor one for the aquarium?
Well, the problem now is we don't have any way to fasten them to the ground. Once we get the pavers in there, then we can fasten them to the pavers, and they'll be permanent. But if we put anything elaborate in there now, it'll disappear in a minute. No question about it. Food service. Anna mentioned it briefly, but I want to stress it again, that in the past few days, we've had some objects go in the pool, and some of them have been food. And obviously, we don't want, we'll have our dolphins turn into beggar dolphins. And we can start throwing sandwiches in there. So I ask your help as the hospitality. I sent 2 elderly couple downstairs today who had food and a drink up here. And, they were first upset, and then I explained why. And they said, sorry, we're very sorry. And they went down to the first level. I would like to not have food in the building, but I'm afraid with the heat and everything that we are not going to be able to do that. And I'm not exactly sure how we're going to manage it, but we've got to keep them off the second floor.
See it every day you're there, all over the place,
Yep.
bottles of water, drinks.
And we need your help. If one of those if Winter swallows one of those plastic caps and we don't know it,
Oh, yeah.
she could be bye-bye.
Yeah.
Or Hope, or Pam, or Nick.
Yeah.
So we want to be very, very careful. Okay, well, I think I've covered pretty much everything I wanted to. Again, we've got a good website here, the hospitality website. You guys are doing a fantastic job, believe me, all except for David. Grouchy old Yankee. Grouchy old Yankee. And I thank you all very much for what you are doing, and we will persevere through this summer season. I know it's not going to be easy, but we are truly blessed to have the business we've got. And the one thing that I'll leave with you You never get a second chance to make a first impression.
Thank you so much.